Coming up on this episode of We're No Damn Experts, we're talking about the vibrant music scene here in Great Falls. From education to performances, Dusty Molyneaux joins us to tell you how you can enjoy some free concerts this summer.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames, if you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth.
And we're No Damn Experts. I'm feeling
Every
a little
time you
funky
say
today.
things a little different.
Well, I don't. So
I have to watch you to be like, is it time to say it? Okay.
So every time I answer the phone, people just pause. They don't even talk to me because they're like, oh, I thought it was your answering machine. I'm like, oh, I'm just that consistent, I guess.
You are. I mean, I sit in the office next to you and I can hear you on the phone, and it does sound very, it's the same. It does sound like that, yeah.
I want people to know that every day I'm showing up for this podcast and I'm giving them something.
Something a little special.
Yeah. It's not going to be monotonous. So all that tirade aside, we have in studio with us, I'm going to say an arts master. And I have begged him to do things in our community that haven't happened yet, but it's mostly because of money. And he's, you know, isn't there a kind of a theme with some of our guests? They're like, oh yeah, Rebecca, we'll do whatever you want. Just write us the check.
And we in turn say, anybody want to help us out? Sponsor this? Yeah.
So when I say arts expert, I mean he's involved with the Mansfield Center for the Performing Arts. He is shaping young minds when it comes to music and art education within our community. And he's a part of the municipal band, which we'll talk about a little bit here. Dusty Molyneaux.
Yay. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me on.
Yes. Yeah.
And
thanks for showing up.
Yeah. See, he came to this. He showed up for this.
Where's my check?
Yeah. You'll get it at the end. See
Okay.
how well you do.
I told him when I asked him on, I was like, we'll pay you. Just ask Rebecca when you get here about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we pay based on performance.
Okay.
So we'll see how well you do at the end.
I guess I'll be paying you.
Word count here. Yeah.
High level. I've heard people they're like, I'm gonna, I put $50 on the table when I go out to eat, and I tell the waitress that's theirs,
and they take it away every
time.
And
then they reduce the amount based on poor service. No, I'm sorry. The meaner you are to me, the more you make fun of me while we're eating, the higher your tip goes.
Oh, she's actually come in and told stories about that. And that's true in your life.
It is.
I've never had $50 to just put on the table.
Just put on the table. Yeah, you're an arts master. You're in the arts. No, you don't have that. Yeah.
Such a funny story, completely off topic. We were up visiting my mom a couple weeks ago. We ended up at a local establishment to patronize its efforts. We like to support small business.
You were drinking at a bar? Is that what you're saying?
Shannon, I'm trying to be classy. So
everyone knows you love
beer. We ordered a beer, and my mom says, well, I'll get it. And she pulls out $100 bill.
Oh,
and
wow.
my husband goes, I've never seen one of those in my life. We're the only three people in the bar besides the bartender.
Yeah.
And it was just hilarious. We laughed so hard.
Also, do bars keep that much, anymore? Do places keep change for 100?
I think my mom was concerned we were going to drink the whole thing.
She's like, we'll just tap this up here.
Maybe that's what she thought. Wasn't worried about the change. We did not, people. We did not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's lucky they didn't have to do a background check and make sure it wasn't counterfeit and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They seem to float around there quite a bit in that community, so it was fun. It was a fun tangent. So Dusty, what do you got going on these days?
Oh, we got everything going on. It's March. March is just insane in a good way.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just the weather. It's there's just so
which
much going on.
thank you for
Yeah.
venturing out to come to us today. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 days ago, no coat. I was walking around.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
No coat.
Yep.
Today, another 10 feet of snow.
Yeah. It's a lot.
We had a so the other thing I do is I run a lot of festivals, and we had a band festival last week.
Oh.
And I brought in clinicians from out of town. One who was living in Colorado, so winter wasn't a stranger to her.
Right.
One from Florida, Tampa.
Oh, wow.
So
little bit of a
hence where
shocker.
the story
Different.
is going. And then another one from California, they've actually been having more winter this year than we have.
Yeah.
So she was telling us all the horror stories about the weather that they've been having. But anyway, the lovely lady from Florida, who was an amazing conductor, and she just did a great job working with the kids at the festival. But she'd never been to Montana and wanted to go see Glacier.
Oh.
So she was going to fly in a day
lot of
early
explanation.
in mid-March and rent a car
And go to Glacier.
and go to Glacier.
Well-
And then she wanted to go and visit Missoula because there was a composer studio over there that she wanted to see, and then come back, and be here
Yeah.
for Sunday.
In a day.
In a day.
Oh,
yeah.
my.
And I just kind of had to relate to her that was the
Well,
biggest
hey.
pipe dream.
The stop in Glacier is going to be fairly quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can
maybe
drive
you can
there.
make it. Yeah.
You're not going to be able to go into the park,
Right, no.
really,
There's-
but
yeah.
you can see some mountains.
Depending on the day, it might be a little treacherous drive on Highway
Right.
2 there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And I promised her when she got here, I said, and then she had some other things that changed her plans. I'm sure she couldn't come out early anyway. But I promised her, I said, well, we can show you mountains when
Yeah.
you're here. I said, it's just a short drive out of town.
Yeah.
Well, of course, last week was just snowy, gray, cloudy. It was like living in London.
Yeah.
And we didn't see mountains for the
Yeah.
whole 3 days she was
Like-
here.
I
Yeah.
promise they're getting a bunch of snow. They're right there.
I drove
Yeah.
all the way out to the Pishkin, and we
Yeah.
could barely see the Pishkin.
Oh, my
And then
gosh,
I'm like,
yeah.
see that
You're
really
like,
faint thing over
right
there?
there.
It's like,
That's
like
the
a
mountain.
shadow?
Yeah.
that's Square Butte,
Yeah.
Like I can show you lots of pictures of it.
Let's just drive
look
into
at it.
them. You can be
Yeah.
you can be surrounded by them.
yeah.
We'll sit here and look at the picture, and you can pretend
You can
that's what it
pretend
looks
that
like.
that's how big it is.
Oh man.
And then just imagine there's a whole bunch of mountains beyond
Yeah.
that.
it's
beautiful.
so pretty. Let me show you a picture.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like when you're not here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's always so much fun when you make those plans. For our honeymoon, we went to Seattle, and it was sunshine
Oh,
and
yeah.
warm the entire
Lovely,
time. And
yeah.
my husband looks at me and he goes, "Where's the rain? I just want to sit in a coffee shop and watch it rain. It's Seattle." And I'm
Yeah.
like, valid point. I don't think
yeah.
you're going to get it, pal.
No.
It was beautiful. when
It's
we were
gorgeous there, though, and it's
Yeah.
sunny. Yeah.
there. Just not seeing it very often.
Yeah.
Which is the odd thing.
Which is funny. Yeah.
So the composer from Florida comes like one time.
Yeah.
That you can't
Sorry.
see the mountains. Yeah.
But it was beautiful snow, and she
Yeah.
hadn't seen snow in a while, so
Well,
she was
there you
excited
go.
about
Got
that.
a lot of
Yeah.
that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the festivals you talk about, it's like music festival, choir,
Yeah.
band, but yours are bigger, so you have to separate them from band and choir.
Right.
Okay.
So in the school district, we do 3 a year. The choir one is in November, and the orchestra one is in February,
Oh.
and then we do a band one in March, and that's usually the cycle. And we host every 2 years, and then the third year, somebody gets to travel. So we end up doing 2 of those a year, which brings in out-of-town bands, choirs, orchestras
Yeah.
to stay here and spend money and kind of get to know the town. And they always love coming over here because we've got a great facility at Great Falls High, and CMR is a wonderful place to host too. And there's just kind of cool things to do in Great Falls that
Yeah.
there aren't in other places, around here. So
We used to travel for music festival when I was in high school. You may not know it looking at me now, but if you've listened to other podcasts, you know I was a flute player in high school and part of the choir. Class C school, so you're kind of just involved in everything.
yeah,
It's not like you really have a choice. You're like, oh, you're in band. What instrument do you want to play? Well, I wasn't thinking about band. You're in band. What instrument do you want to play? So we would go to music festival all the time, and we'd do choir stuff, and we'd do band stuff, and it was always so much fun. And we were cool, so I assume
You were the cool
everybody
kids.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and everybody should.
yeah, I would agree.
I did choir all growing up through school, but I do kind of wish, looking back, I would have done more band or with instruments. I mean, I love choir and I love singing. I'm not good, but I love it. But looking back, I took piano lessons growing up, and literally like 3 teachers either quit or retired on me. So I took that as a sign that maybe I should give up instruments. Yeah. No, but that's neat. I mean, yeah, if you're young, just do it. Yeah, you'll be thankful when you're older.
I can tell you, in the height of my career in music, which was,
sophomore year,
junior high and high school. So we learned a lot at Music Festival, like the guest conductors who'd kind of bring out more in your voice or give you the tips to improve. It was really a lot of fun.
And it gives you perspective outside of like, oh, this is just something I have to do at school.
Right.
Like, oh, this is like a thing.
And you got to travel and stay overnight.
There's some perks.
Yeah.
Well, it is really fascinating. Like when there's been so many studies done on the importance of arts education in schools, and obviously me being an educator, that's where I live. And I get to read up on that kind of stuff, which is way more fun than reading up on COVID aerosol studies, by the way. I just like to say that. So it's nice to be able to get back into the fun studies instead of the icky studies.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, when you look at somebody that's actively, I'll take music as an example, actively making music, and they've done MRI studies on them. So like they'll like either make them sing inside the machine or give them a saxophone to play or something like that. And you literally see the entire brain lighting up. Like every part of the brain is in function. And so there's not a left hemisphere, there's not a right hemisphere, it's just the whole thing.
Wow.
When you listen to music, your brain lights up, but not nearly as much as when you're making it. So it's that act of struggling and creating that does those kind of things for you.
So, folks, if you're stifled where you are, Great Falls has
there you
a
go.
very vibrant art scene.
Yes.
So you can see it, and then you can engage in it in many locations all over the place.
I like to call Great Falls the black hole of the arts, because it seems like everybody has a connection somehow to Great Falls, Montana. And you wouldn't think it, but I can go to a convention anywhere, and within like 5 minutes, I can figure out that somebody's been to Great Falls or they know somebody that's been to Great Falls in any random circumstance.
Working with the library on a kind of a fun, silly PSA that they're doing, and Susie at the library grew up with a guy named Paul who now went to school here in Great Falls and now works on Broadway, like training and teaching people who perform on Broadway. And it's just, I think, if you live here for a while, you like don't think that people go on to do those things. But there are so many, like you said, connections of people who are from Great Falls who are here doing amazing things, or who have gone on to other places and are doing amazing things in music. Yeah.
And it's because of the commitment of this community from I mean, I've been here 26 years, and everything that I've looked at over the past, when I research something or find an old article or pull out this file, and it's just been decades and decades and decades of support for the arts. And I think it's that kind of pioneer spirit that Great Falls still has a lot of, in that we were the only planned community in the state, really, when you think of the big towns. Paris Gibson came out here and there really wasn't anything, and he's like, I'm going to make a town.
And mapped out for growth.
Yeah. So he was a visionary, but because of that, he kind of, and the people that he brought out or followed him out here, they had to figure out ways to bring that kind of culture here, because it wasn't going to show up unless they figured out how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And we're still doing that in this town. And I think that's amazing. You look at other communities that have a university attached to them or a big theater or something like that, and they kind of rely on that to bring in the talent, so to speak. In Great Falls, we don't have that. That's just not an option with the higher education situations we have here. They don't have, theater and music and things like that are attached to them anymore. And so we just have to do it on our own. But because of that, it makes us really strong.
Well, and I think it makes us fairly unique, because it is the residents here that are trying out and joining the symphony. It's the residents here that are forming the municipal band. It is the residents here that are buying the tickets to go make sure the symphony, has a season. And I just think it is one of those things that people don't expect about our community. And we share it all the time. Like, we tell people, like, we're kind of big into the arts here.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, kind of really a big deal.
It
For
really
real.
is a big
For
deal.
real. Yeah.
All areas of the arts. So you want music, you want painting, you want sculpture, you want performance art. What do you want? We've got it, because it happens. And I'm pretty impressed with that.
Yeah, and we should all be proud of that too. And it's something that really is, like when we bring in all these clinicians and conductors and stuff like that, they're just amazed at how much effort and how much appreciation this community really has. Well, like I said, we just had this band festival recently, so we hosted that one at Great Falls High. And because of a fabulous, generous gift from the Davidson Foundation and a whole bunch of other people that have given to the Great Falls Public Schools Foundation over the years, we were able to renovate that theater. And when they walk into that theater, they go, oh, this community is serious about what.
It's kind of a big time.
Yeah.
I was just doing the inventory, and there's a play coming up inside the Great Falls High Davidson Auditorium. I can't remember what it is.
Oh, I bet you I can tell you.
I bet you Dusty knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but I didn't bring that. Give me a second, though.
He's gonna lie.
Let's circle back to that.
Yeah.
There's
It's in my briefcase.
he's gonna find it for you. Yeah.
and there, one of the dreams that I had pitched to Dusty and the Mansfield Center for the Performing Arts board a while ago is this idea of summer theater. And although it is possible, it is an undertaking. And so there's this startup theater company in Great Falls. And I'm going to go meet with them in April and share my dream.
Oh, good. Yes.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited
fun.
that's happening.
But and then we have Act Normal Theater Company as well, that's got on their agenda to do multiple performances of A Play Goes Wrong.
Yeah.
And
They're doing, I want to go, it's like a dinner theater performance.
Right,
I
the
wanna go
Times
see that.
Square.
Yeah, I want to go
that
see
looks
that.
fun.
It sounds fun.
So that's
got your
another
note.
one of those indications of people just engaging in the arts any way they can.
Because
So
they need it in their system and the community loves it.
You have your notes.
Yeah, so I have my notes. So those, so CMR is doing Our Town, which is a classic production, March 30th through April 2nd over at CM Russell High School. And then the one that you're talking about, Great Falls High, they're doing The Adding Machine. That's the play.
Is that what you were thinking of?
neither one of those sound familiar,
So
but
you're thinking of something else?
That's April 27th through the 29th.
who knows?
That's when that's
Yeah.
going to start up.
You know, people, as I age, the mind.
Yeah.
The mind.
I believe you. I believe you think there's something else. Yeah.
It's quite likely I just don't remember anything. So,
But you weren't lying. There are things there are performances coming up.
I mean, if you look, I mean, obviously you can't look at this, the people that are listening to this podcast,
but
but
we could encourage you to.
this is a full sheet of things that
Yeah,
are just happening
it's a
in the
lot.
public schools.
Which is a long
March
list.
And, yeah, and it's like
For
font
3
9.
months. Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dusty, we introduced you as an art master, but can you give us the list of all the things you are involved in the arts world and beyond here in our community?
'Cause people expect me to lie to them often,
Right.
so we need to prove what I
this
said
is
is
the
true.
verification
Well, I just
stage.
it's just such a long
Yeah.
long list of things you're involved in.
It is a lot. And some days I'm like,
What did I do?
What did I do?
I need to learn to say no.
And obviously
Sure, there's a course on that.
And you've also, I mean, you're very highly regarded in your profession and your musical performances as well. Yeah.
That's
So-
because of my podcast experience, I'm sure.
Obviously, yes.
So my day job and my big love is music and art supervisor for the Great Falls Public Schools.
Okay.
And prior to that, I was a band director. So band is where I came from. And I was the band director at Great Falls High for 15 years and then taught in Shepherd, Montana before I moved to Great Falls. But this is my 11th year as the music and art supervisor. Okay.
As the supervisor, do you get to interact with the kids anymore, or do you just interact with the teachers?
It's more of a teacher interaction.
Yeah.
I mean, the best parts of my day when I get into the classroom and I'm around kids. So
Yeah.
I actually like doing observations and planning festivals and stuff like that, planning events, because that's how I get to see the kids and get fix, So, but no, there's no part of my day regularly where I'm in the classroom teaching, and I do miss that. I miss it every day. It's it was a big part of my life, and still is. I just don't get to do it directly.
So day job.
So that's the day job. I also play trumpet in the Great Falls Symphony. I'm on the symphony board. I'm on the board for the Paris Gibson Square Museum of Art. So, and that's been really fascinating to kind of delve into the sort of the backside of how a museum functions and just the cool things that a museum does for a community where the exhibits are constantly rotating, type of thing.
And there's also pairings with Paris Gibson Square where there are the members of the symphony will come and have a musical response to an art piece, correct? So that kind of ties those two worlds together as well.
There's been some of those that are fun. The Arts on Fire event that the Square hosts also has some symphony participation in it too, So it's been nice to see those collaborations over the years.
And folks, this is also the place that you can perform the art. You can do classes at the Square often. So you might think it's weird. I'm just going to say it out loud. People might think it's weird that we share, hey, we've got this class happening in Great Falls. But if you're in town and you're looking for ways to build your itinerary for travel, encourage you to take a class. You're going to get kind of that.
You're allowed to. You don't have to live here to do that.
You're going to get this kind of unfiltered response of what the community is like, and you're going to engage in people that are residents and learn just a little bit more about the town while getting to do something you probably wouldn't do. They may offer that kind of stuff in your town, but as we all know, we don't always participate in the things in our own backyard.
Right.
But if you do it on vacation, I mean, what else are you doing? You're
there
relaxing.
to experience it. Yeah, it's a great time to do that.
And you actually get to come back with something, cool, like
a memento,
ceramic piece or a painting.
I made this on my vacation.
Trip to Great Falls. Yeah.
Instead of looking at a credit card bill going,
that's all I have to show for that.
That was a good beer, eh?
That's way better than a magnet.
Yes, this is true. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we
Square.
The Square board.
Okay. And in the profession, I am the Northwest National Association for Music Educators president-elect.
Oh.
Ooh.
And I will take over as the president this summer.
Okay.
So it's a 6-state region.
Wow.
Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. And I will. So I've been on the board now for a while as president-elect for that.
Yeah.
But basically, we're kind of shaping the course of music education across the country.
Wow,
it's fascinating. I always feel like I'm the dumbest person in the room, but
I
I have the best jokes.
I love being the dumbest person in the room because I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm so excited about that.
Yeah. You have a lot that you're supervising, involved in, or making decisions on.
And then I'm also on the High School Association Music Committee.
Okay.
So we help with planning big events and like all-state, district music festivals, state music festivals. And then because of my involvement with that, I've been nominated to be on the National Federation of High Schools
Oh my goodness.
board.
How exciting.
Yeah. So I get to work it's the same division as far as my state area, and there's 8 divisions on the NFHS. And so we meet usually annually, and then we do a lot of Zoom meetings and things like that. And we talk more about the academic part of, not the academic part, but more of the festival part of the music side. So, it's been fun to be involved with that.
Yeah.
But that group is also really interested in promoting the profession and getting teachers and kids involved in being in music and stuff like that too. So between the NAFME and the NFHS, I'm pretty connected as far as what's going on nationwide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how exciting too for us here in Great Falls to have someone from Great Falls representing and making some of those decisions on a regional and national level.
It's good for people at the national level to get that perspective because
it's a different perspective.
Oh, it sure is, and so, we're an arts-rich community, but we're, whenever they start talking about small towns, they really don't get it, you know, and here in Montana, we think Great Falls is a big city. But when you look at like national statistics, we're still considered like
A small town.
rural, you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
rural.
It's such a hard word. I hate that word. Yeah.
Well, I used to work with a gentleman who said, based on census definitions, everywhere in Montana is frontier.
Exactly.
Not even rural.
Frontier.
Yes.
Wow.
And
Very
I'm like,
Wild West sounding.
really? We still use the word frontier?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But and that is something we tell our guests often when they walk in. They're like, "Oh, tell us about your town." I said, "Well, it is the third largest city in the state of Montana, and I do understand that maybe by your perspective, it's not really a city, but when a state only has 1 million people,
Yep.
we're a big
Concentration
we're a
of
big deal here."
60,000 is, yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, that keeps me really busy
Yeah.
between all of the Zoom meetings and travel and things like that. And then, you know, and then obviously it's a very busy job overseeing all those teachers and making sure that curriculum is being implemented and that events are being coordinated and everybody's happy. So
Is the when you play in the symphony and the municipal band, is that the times that you get to play music?
Yeah.
Are you more relaxed?
Yeah.
Are you happy, excited, or is that
Well,
just
his
kind of
brain
another?
lights up.
Right,
Yeah, well,
my
that's
brain
true.
lights up.
Yeah. Or
what's
is that
what's
just kind
so
of another?
fun about so, you know, not being in front of a band on a daily basis like I was for so many years, I've lost that creative outlet. And playing in the symphony, I have one job to do, and that's to, you know, not to suck, basically.
Are your principal flute? Yes.
No, trumpet.
Trumpet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Trumpet. I was flute.
No,
That's
you,
flute. Yeah.
you play flute.
I knew
Never
trumpet.
be principal flute. I will never be principal flute.
I knew trumpet. I said flute. Yes. Sorry.
And I'm not the principal.
Okay, yeah.
I've got the second chair.
Okay. Yeah.
An important role.
An important role. That's right. And then in the municipal band, I played principal trumpet for many, many years. And now that Bud Nichols has kind of stepped down, and he's our director emeritus, but he's not on the podium anymore, I've taken a little more of the conducting responsibilities. It's been interesting because we kind of had to figure out how to do the band with COVID and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So this is our 130th consecutive season.
Oh my gosh.
That's
really?
a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
And when you look at like histories of bands across the country, you know, we're not the oldest, and we never will be because we can't compete with
yeah.
Allentown, Pennsylvania, which
East
is
side
you
of the
know,
country.
Well,
Yeah.
But for this area
We
of the
could,
country,
We're going to knock some people off.
Yeah.
And no, we're not.
But as far as longevity and things like that, we're in the upper echelons there
Yeah.
as far as community bands. And it was really important to keep that streak going for us, you know. So we figured
Yeah.
out ways to do concerts through the COVID season where we didn't have like the full band, but we had small ensembles, and we're doing them outside, so it was safe and all that kind of stuff. But we're really proud that 130 years,
Yeah.
you know, and that all came out of that Boston and Anaconda smelter
Yeah.
thing from the late 1800s, and still going strong.
So my world is somewhat small. Like,
The size of this room?
Yeah.
Or?
yeah, let's just call it that. Like, 'cause then I can be queen of whatever I want. But I wouldn't think there's a lot of municipal bands left.
No, there aren't.
Okay.
There aren't. That again speaks to the quality of the school system that we have here in Great Falls, and that we're able to generate musicians over many decades, many generations, basically,
Yeah.
and keep things going. And then you know we do get people that move in from out of town that played an instrument, and that gives them a place to do that too. So we actually have it's kind of a system in place. You know, again, you wouldn't expect
feeder
this.
tube.
Right, we do. So there's the municipal band, and the municipal band meets in the summer, and we do our concerts down at the band shell in the park in Gibson Park, and it's that traditional summer evening on a Wednesday. But during the regular year, we have the community band, and then there's also the community jazz band, and those two groups keep going, and they do a couple of concerts a year too. And so that's kind of an outlet for adults. We even have some high school kids that, you know, will play a second instrument or just can't get enough of band and they want to do more band type of thing. And they'll play all year long. And then that's sort of the nucleus for the municipal band, because we really need to get the best musicians into that municipal band because of the way we rehearse.
So I'm going to just sound completely stupid, but the municipal band and the community band are two different things, and we have them both.
We have them both.
Huh.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
How are they different, or what? Yeah. What?
So the
distinguishes
community
them?
band is basically a y'all come kind of thing.
Oh,
and we'll take
the
anybody.
door's open.
The door's
So
open.
Rebecca can play her flute.
You
Yeah.
could.
Oh.
You
I don't
could
even
join
think I
up.
could run a scale anymore, but I.
And it's funny that you say that because we know you could, but that's the place. And there are lots of people in that band that did something else for 30, 35 years. They retired and like, well, now what am I going to do? And they go back. I used to play trombone, and they pull out that case in the corner and shake off the dust and play a couple weeks, and they're like, I can play a scale again, I got chops. And so they look for these kind of things to do, and that's what happened. So there's a lot of people that kind of came through that community band that played in high school, and they went on and did something else for a while, and now they're back at it again.
Oh.
So the municipal band is a little bit different, though, because that's more of an audition type of group. And over the years, Bud Nichols basically kind of handpicked the musicians that he wanted to put in there because he just knew everybody in town. He was Mr. Music for 50, 60, 70 years. He still owns a music store downtown and is open for business type of thing. He just can't do the conducting anymore. But the way we work that band is we have a rehearsal on a Tuesday night, and we hand out all the music, and then we perform it the next day on Wednesday.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not municipal band quality.
We'll get you there.
Yeah.
Holy
But
cow.
it's a lot of sight reading.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
you have to be a good reader and kind of adapt. Now, obviously, there's some things that we play every year that people are kind of used to, but they haven't seen it for a year, so they have to be ready to go on it.
Huh.
And then we get lots of new music. And after Bud kind of hung up the baton, we've been doing sort of a round robin of conductors. So every week in the
Some
summer,
draw somebody's name out of a hat.
you have been chosen. But we pick local music educators that want to take a turn, and most of them are members of the band themselves. So we know everybody's a good musician, and they know what's going on. But then they hand out the stuff that they like to do, so it's all way more new music for the band than it's been in a long time. So it's fun. It keeps everybody on their toes, and I think the audience likes it because it's different, type of thing. Even though Bud had a classic formula for programming, and we try to follow that programming, just maybe same kind of styles of things, just maybe slightly different music from time to time.
Yeah. And it's such a wonderful experience. Have you gone to municipal band concerts?
Maybe once a long time ago, just simply for the fact that in my prior job, I either worked in the evenings or had to be in bed by 5 p.m. So I'm excited because I am hoping to make it to some this summer because, prior in life, I just really haven't had the schedule to be able to do that. Yeah.
It's like the coolest experience.
Yeah. Well,
especially if you're not expecting it. Like if you're just out on the trail system
and you're like, what is that
what
noise?
Is there a band playing? And then
I thought those were extinct.
And then you
Live
sit down
music?
on the lawn and people
Yeah.
are playing instruments. And the thing that just shocked me is like the variety of people. Because you've got heritage members of our society as well as young kids all just sitting up there performing a piece that honestly I would have thought they were practicing for a week before.
Yeah, I had no idea. It was
it's a
like
tight
the night
schedule.
before.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it
That's
doesn't
impressive.
sound like that.
No, that's really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It sounds like
And you're
That's the
conducting.
goal.
Go. Yeah. So we were talking about, so it's in Gibson Park in the band shell there, Gibson Park. We've talked about and we need to do our podcast sometime more about Gibson Park too.
yeah,
But
that
it's
might be a
this-
disaster, but let's do it. I think it'll be great.
But it's this crown jewel, kind of the crown jewel of our park system, in my opinion, in Great Falls. And you have this wonderful band shell. So talk a little bit about that experience, because we talked about you're walking along, you hear the music, but it's free. You just show up, bring your lawn chair, wet blanket.
It's Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. We'll start actually in June. Our first concert is going to be the 21st of June.
Oh.
And then the week after that, we move to the Civic Center for sort of our 4th of July show. And then we'll be back at the band shell in the park from July 5 all the way through August 9 every
Is it
Wednesday.
every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday, yeah. So 7 p.m., there's no charge. We do have a free will donation bucket, so if people want to make a contribution to the band, that's great. It just helps us with the expenses that we have with new music, uniforms, things like that. But yeah, there's a couple of benches. A lot of people just come and bring their lawn chairs. They'll bring in an umbrella. Most years, the last few years, they've kind of had these sunshades up from the city parks. They're starting to get tore out with the wind, so hopefully they got fixed over the winter. But that provides some nice shade. And then it's right next to the pond, so it's a great spot. And I think they have food back there now. So
they do.
you can come down, you can get a
Snack
snack. Get a snack, go over and listen to a concert. Little kids can run over to the playground, which is right next to it.
Yeah.
Got the Vinegar Jones cabin that's right behind it. You
Yeah.
can go check out some history there.
The little floral labyrinth that's right
yeah,
next
there's
there.
a beautiful little flower
Yeah.
garden there.
Yeah.
A lot of people getting married in that park.
I've been to a wedding there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just fantastic, and I love being on the bandstand, kind of just looking out at the crowd, and like you were saying, sometimes people are maybe they're tourists, or you can kind of you see a car drive by and you see people's heads kind of going like, what the?
What's going
What is
on?
that?
And then they'll turn around and they'll come back and they'll get out and they're like,
Watch
And
them
it's one of
sit
those
and look at you.
stories, like they're going back, they're like, we were in Great Falls, Montana, and we were
Driving
driving by,
along.
and all of a sudden, there's a band playing in that park. So we pulled in and we listened.
Yeah.
And when I'm on the podium, a lot of times those people will come up to me and they're like, "Thank you so much for this is
you just-
amazing."
Yeah.
Like it wasn't planned.
Yeah.
Like everybody just
Yeah,
showed up one
Like,
day.
oh, maybe we should
We
play
just
something.
happened to be
Yeah.
passing through. This was a real treat.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
But
So,
it truly is.
It is,
Like
yeah.
if you aren't expecting that to happen,
It's like a lovely
it's
little
like,
surprise.
what is going on?
yeah. And we just love performing down there,
Yeah.
and the band shell is kind of a nice little acoustic environment too. So the sound is good. You know,
Do you know the story behind the band shell? I mean, 130 some years the municipal band's been in existence. Forgive me, I have no idea how long Great Falls has been in existence, but the park itself, like, was it built just for the municipal band, that band shell? Or
I don't think the band shell was there at the start of the park. I mean, I know Paris Gibson had come from Minneapolis, St. Paul area before he came out here. And if you've ever visited that town, you know that there's parks everywhere because of the lakes. Because in the summer, that's the only way you can get cool. You got to get out of your house and walk down around the lake. So, I mean, that was his vision for Great Falls, was to have parks everywhere. And he wanted to have sort of a centerpiece park. And I don't know what that park is in Minneapolis, but that's definitely what they designed over
Gibson
here.
Park here.
And it's, connected basically to the Civic Center with the Margaret and Whittier parks, and then just kind of keeps going. And then on the other side of the railroad track, because they've got that little tunnel that goes underneath, there's the whole Riverside Park there too.
Elks
So
Riverside Park. And then
just keeps going.
it just keeps going. But I don't think the band shell was built originally there. There was probably a gazebo or something like that, because the bands were probably a little bit smaller back in those days. But there's a plaque on the shell. I think that shell was probably built in the 60s. And it's dedicated to a Cooney, Cooney. I can't remember his first name.
Yeah.
it's not Mike. I
Yeah.
can tell you
Yeah,
that.
but it might be a relative.
A relative
be.
of
Yeah.
Mike. Yeah.
So I don't know if he was a mayor or a city commissioner
Yeah.
or something like that.
Huh.
It is pretty neat though that we do have that band shell, because other people use it, or little performances or things like that. But
Well,
it's a
you
cool
know.
thing to have.
And I'm sure all of those are kind of just built and based on the old one in Central Park in New York City. Because that's the band shell where the Goldman Band did their summer concerts at the turn of the century, and there's that famous march on the mall, and that's what they called the area just out in front of the band shell there, the mall at Central Park. So
Cool.
I think that's kind of what they were envisioning when they designed that.
Well, I think they've done a good job.
Yeah.
How many people are in the municipal band?
Between 45 and 50.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's more than I thought.
Right.
Wow.
We're packed.
Yeah.
We're like sardines.
Yeah, that's
on
a lot
that
up on
stage.
that stage. Uh-huh.
Yeah. That would be another one of those money things. If people just had some extra money, we'd love to expand.
We need a
Expand that.
bigger
Yeah.
band shell.
Yeah.
And it's always random to me, the people that are in the municipal band. We were doing a podcast about the Railroad History Museum. He was part of municipal
you
band.
talked to Dean.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dean Zook. Yeah, he plays bassoon.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I play in the municipal band. I'm like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
And other people that you just don't expect. I mean, because they're normal people aren't just walking around with their instruments displaying that they're able to
Especially
play
like the tuba
instruments.
players. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when you find the people in the community that have these whole other lives, and then you find out, you're in the municipal band too. Like, people can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they love doing it. It's a big musical outlet for them. So yeah, there's our ages range probably from the 80s to the 16s, 15s. You know, we do have a few kids that we invite in that are usually all state level from the local high schools, and they kind of fill in spots that we don't have adults for, type of thing. So. Yeah.
And then what percentage would you say of the municipal band made it to the symphony?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Yeah, that kind of changes from year to year. I would say there's probably like 10 to 15% of the musicians in the municipal band that are regular members of the symphony. We've had members of the core musicians, like the really good symphony musicians. They've come in and filled in for us when we've had somebody sick or something like that. Most of those folks are gone in the summer, though. They're off doing festivals and things like that, so they're not available to play regularly. But I mean, they have played. I think like Chris Mothersall, who used to be our principal clarinet, he's like the last one that played like regularly in the band, and he just loved band music. So if he was around, he was always playing in the band.
Doing his thing.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the symphony for?
Well, I've been in Great Falls. Well, this is sort of a weird story. So
Yes.
We love it.
Oh, there we go.
So excited.
So I've been employed in Great Falls for 26 years now, but I was in the symphony prior to that because I student taught also in Great Falls. So way back in the day, Gordon Johnson was the director of the symphony, and Gordon had 2 jobs at that time. So he's doing the Great Falls Symphony, and he was also doing the Kalispell Symphony, the Glacier Orchestra. And his primary residence was in Kalispell.
Okay.
And that's where he and Ruth, his wife, and their 2 little kids were living at the time. And now they're all grown up, and so this is a while back. Anyway, he'd kept his house in Great Falls. And so what he would do is drive over on like a Sunday and come back to his place, do all his symphony business, and symphony rehearsals used to be on Monday nights, and then maybe do some more meetings on Tuesday, and then drive back to Kalispell. And the house just kind of sat there empty. So he had a great idea that when student teachers were needing a place to stay, especially music ones, he was like, they can stay at my house, and I won't charge them a whole lot of rent, and they can shovel the snow and mow the lawn.
Comes in handy,
make sure that the basement doesn't flood, kind of things. And then we stayed in the attic of his place, and then he stayed down on the main floor. So when I was living there, I moved in August. And he came back on a Sunday, and the symphony season was kind of starting up, and I was getting ready to start over at CMR for my student teaching. And he's like, I need a percussionist to kind of help out with this first concert. And I was like, well, I'm a trumpet player. And he's like, yeah, but you can just play accessory stuff. He's like, you're going to be a band director. This will be good for you. I'm like, okay. And so I started playing triangle and cymbals and, just small things.
Which to me looks to be the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. Well, there is some training, and there's a lot of counting and getting ready, and there's nothing worse than missing your triangle note. All I had to do was hit it, but
it changes everything though if that's off. Yeah.
Or the cymbal crash that's in the wrong spot. It's like, well, that's embarrassing.
That was not the dramatic moment. Yeah.
Felt right.
So I played percussion that whole semester of helping out there.
Oh, wow.
And then when I moved back and I actually had the job at Great Falls High at that point, there still weren't any trumpet openings in the orchestra. So I played percussion for a few more years, just kind of went back into my old role as Mr. Accessory and helped out there. But I got a lot better at percussion, which made me a better band director. And, but Gordon and I would, because, he would come over,
to his own house.
To his own house.
Yeah.
It was funky. And then I was living on a very limited budget, and Gordon, if you know Gordon, he doesn't like to spend money anyway, so he just ate at home. And I told him, I said, I'll figure out dinner. I said, you just figure out the drinks. And it was always some sort of hamburger helper type of thing, because that's what I was good at, you know. Homemade hamburger. I wasn't going to buy it in a box.
Yeah.
I can buy pasta.
Yep.
I can buy
do this
beef.
for cheaper.
I can get some big cans of spice. You know?
Yeah.
So we would just sit there and eat whatever hamburger helper meal that I'd concocted that. And then he always had a bottle of wine. He found, like, here we go. Small bottle of, small glass before rehearsal type of thing.
That's great.
Good times. And then occasionally his wife, who I ended up teaching with, Ruth Johnson, over at Great Falls High, they would come over for concerts and stuff like that. So I got to babysit the kids and help out there too. So yeah, it was a good place to live. And there were a lot of music student teachers that went through that system. So yeah,
that's nice to have. I mean, where I grew up, the school owned most of the housing in our town. So
really?
And we rarely got student teachers because unless they were from there,
right? Who's coming there? Yeah.
But then the teachers always had a place to live, which is always a good question.
Yeah.
And that's a big reality now for a lot of communities is finding housing for their teachers.
Yeah. The symphony too. I mean, we've had, since I've been on, we've had Gordon, who was filling in while Grant was off with his new baby, and Hillary on, and then
we've had
Grant's been on before on the
Hillary's
podcast.
Like been on a
couple times,
or maybe 3. No, 2 times.
2 times. Yeah. But we've talked about the symphony. We've talked about the season, but I think people don't realize, and something really cool about ours is there's just such different styles of performances. I've gone to many of the Christmas concerts, which are just always a delight. I got to be part of the Halloween one. You've gotten to be part of that in the past as well. You got to stand up and say a line in a costume. I mean, just talk a little bit about the variety and the entertainment component, because if people are like, well, why, sounds boring or something, like it's not.
It's not.
No.
And I think a lot of people, if they're not comfortable with classical music, they think it's like out of their league, so to speak, and it really isn't. Good music is good music.
Yeah.
And I can, if you've never heard the Great Falls Symphony, trust me, it's good. It's excellent quality. And again, you'd be surprised at how awesome it is for a community this size, but it's fantastic musicians. The principal players all come from the best music programs in the country, and they come out here to make a living, and they don't want to suck,
Right.
And nobody in the orchestra, does. So, I mean, we put in a lot of work, and it's very eclectic.
So
we'll play the kind of masterworks type of stuff, but we do a lot of new music. Grant has been really good about finding things that the orchestra really isn't familiar with, and it's always great to see some underrepresented composers out there, some people that are actually alive, and that you can look them up and say, oh, that person's actually younger than I am. Type of thing. And then we do a lot of diverse programming for the kids. So those youth matinees and the free concerts that we do. That are being sponsored, those are just fantastically fun. And as a music and art supervisor, I love being involved with those too, because it fits in with the curriculum that we got. And so we bring in every 4th grader in the school district here, and we also bring in every 5th grader, and they get a matinee experience.
But think of that opportunity to be a kid and know there's a career or a future in music or in the arts that isn't just performance based, but all the other, or teaching based. Like most of the time you don't find someone who's like, I'm going to major in flute and then do something with it other than teach. But that's a real possibility in Montana.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you just have to stay and watch movie credits if you're not convinced of that argument, because all the people that are involved in like let's just say a Marvel movie, because those are kind of popular, right? Think of how many people are employed
Yeah.
because of that. And you watch those credits for, I mean, everybody
my
watches
gosh.
Marvel credits now because there's the little,
There's stuff in there.
there's stuff in there now. But I used to be the nerd that liked to
Sat
sit
and
there at the
watched.
end and watched
Who's
all the way
there?
through. Yeah.
Well, and you think about it, the music, the scores in a lot of movies set the tone so much. I mean, in a horror movie when it starts, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, something scary is going to happen. Or we've even seen TV shows where my husband's like, oh, someone's going to fall in love. Listen to that
Here it
music.
comes.
That's the tone. Well, at the Halloween concert this last time around, I'm sure at yours as well, like that you played a piece from Harry Potter and you got like 3 notes in and all the kids were like so excited. Like it's
All they heard was
really,
dum dum da da.
Yeah, It's just like it's pretty cool the power of those
Just those
first few
notes.
notes to get people excited.
Yeah, it definitely sets a mood. And, when you're talking about employing and things like that, the skills that the arts teach kids, like employers used to call these things soft skills.
Yeah.
They're not soft. They're creativity, their independent thinking that's also being able to work well in a group, and then that whole left brain, right brain thing, combining those together. All of those things, being organized, having discipline, having perseverance, resilience, things that, he quit after the first day type of thing. Well, kids in the arts don't quit because we keep plugging at them.
Keep working at it.
Let's do it again. Refine, type of thing. The really important job sets. So even if you don't go into the arts specifically, all of those things that you're learning when you're in an arts class are going to make you a better human being when it's all said and done. And the other great thing about it is that it gives you a safe place to talk about emotions and feelings and a place to express those instead of having to go out on the playground and throw a punch or do something silly.
A more mature way to
Let's
deal
draw a
with your
picture about it.
feelings.
Okay,
Yeah.
I feel better now. Good. We all feel better.
Put it into your music. Yeah. Yeah.
So, the hardest question you could probably be asked, what is your favorite thing to do? Day job, conducting, playing in the symphony, playing in the municipal band,
Ooh.
reprimanding a teacher.
Picking a favorite child here.
Yeah, that's tough.
Most people avoid my questions like this, but we'll see what Dusty does.
I'm going to give you 2 answers, and it's not because I'm being wishy-washy. I think, like, for me, myself, personally, like, when I feel the most open and exposed, but also the most genuine, is when I'm playing my trumpet. And that's just, it's a voice for me that it's beyond anything that I could write down, anything beyond I could say out loud, but I can certainly express how I'm feeling with that trumpet. And I love that. It's also frustrating because the trumpet is a very unforgiving mistress. And if you're not constantly at it, you just sort of lose your ability to be really good. So because I'm not able to practice every single day like I used to be able to, like in college type of things, you're always trying to kind of get back in shape, and it's just this constant cycle of that. So it is frustrating because it's like, I should be able to do this and I can't. And then you get to those levels like right after a concert and you're kind of in shape again and you're like, I'm not going to let this go. And then, the day job comes in and, it's been a month since I've played my trumpet. So, so those kind of experiences are really meaningful to me. But being in front of a group and conducting them and sharing that magic, that's a whole other level of communication and tingles up your spine and things like that. And it's super satisfying to make music with other folks. So if you're talking about like how I respond in a group kind of setting, it would be conducting, because I really do enjoy that, and I've had a lot of fun, and I think I've got a little bit of skill there. So I don't know. I don't know if I answered your question the way you wanted me to.
Those are good answers.
Good answers.
But just sitting out on my deck with a fire is a good thing too. So,
most of the time I ask questions and I just like, I wonder what's going to happen. Like I have no expectations.
Those are good
And that's when
answers.
people, ask for clarifying questions. I'm like,
And you're like,
I'm
I
not going
didn't
any
have
deeper
a
than
specific
this.
thing to that.
No.
Just throwing it out there. Yeah.
No.
Trying to make conversation.
sticks.
Obviously,
Yeah.
that didn't work. We'll try something else. So what else is coming up from an event standpoint that people should know about, if anything?
Oh, well, on the public school side of things, we have, so March is everything month. It's Music in Our Schools month. It's Youth Art Month, and it's also Theater in Our Schools month. So we've got things happening all over the place. It's Western Art Week next week, so we have kids involved with the Out West show that will be at the Heritage Inn. They'll have
Is that
their own
for the
room.
Young Masters
Young
program?
Masters program. They just had their juried show over at Horizon Credit Union on, was that Thursday or Friday? I think it was Thursday of last week. And that went really well. We've got a lot of young artists involved with that. And there'll be even more on display at the show.
It is really epic. It's probably one of my favorite features of Western Art Week is to go see young kids do things I couldn't even
Oh
be
my gosh,
capable
it's
of
incredible.
accomplishing.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
go, you're a freshman, huh?
Yeah.
You're right.
That can be taught.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, it can.
I'm still drawing stick figures.
Yeah, no kidding. I have trouble with that.
Look at how I've perfected the curl
Yeah.
on this hair of my stick figure.
We have people that can help you.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. We have our Music in Our Schools month kind of gala concerts. Those are coming up. The band one will be on I think it's the 21st down at the Civic Center, actually. Let's see if I got the right date on that one. Yeah, that's a 7:00 show. That's free. That will be the middle school and high school bands combined. They just do, it's one big concert. The choir concert will be on the 23rd, which is a Thursday at 7:00, and that's going to be at Great Falls High in the old gym. That's always a fun place to go, and you wouldn't realize this, but the old gym at Great Falls High is actually one of the greatest places in town to sing. Acoustically, it's a really cool, it's almost like a cathedral in there. It's awful for bands and orchestras, just it's so boomy, but when choirs sing in there, it's beautiful. So we always do our big choir concert down there, and that again will be lots of middle school and high school kids combined. And then the orchestra is going to do their Music in Our School month concert on the 28th over at CMR at 7:00.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are kind of big things coming up. There'll be another great big exhibition over at Paris Gibson Square for the All City Art Show on April 14th. We'll have our opening exhibit there, and then that show will be up for about a month. District Music Festival, that's coming down the pike. We'll be hosting all of the out-of-town schools here in Great Falls.
Thank you.
Yeah. We like that.
Yeah. And
I love
bring it in.
districts and Allstate. I mean, I'd like to say I was good enough to go to Allstate, but I think everybody did
Yeah.
in our school.
We hosted Allstate last year.
okay,
We're
you
not
don't
doing
have to
that
mention
one
that.
this year. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
It'll come back around.
It will. Yeah. And
It's just a lot of work.
it is
I
a
don't
lot
have
of
to
work.
do anything with except tell people, oh yeah, we're really proud of our champions
Yeah.
in Great Falls.
Yeah.
But the workload that does come with a lot of that stuff. Same with like Mike Henneberg with all the tournaments
Oh,
that
yeah.
happen at the
Yeah.
schools. I'm like, thanks. And he's like, yeah,
You're welcome.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I wanted to do with my time.
A lot of my time. Yep.
I don't think people really appreciate how much tourism and industry and just dollars that the public schools do generate. I mean,
It's huge.
we complain about taxes and things like that, but
Yeah, it's
these
a good
events
return.
Yeah.
flip things around a little bit
Yeah.
too.
Well,
They
that
really do.
and it's not necessarily just part of the job. It's things that you have to actively go,
extras.
oh, I am willing to take that on
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
do the work that's necessary for
extra time.
that. Yeah.
And I think it's
Because we know teachers in the school system just get paid tons of
Yeah.
money. They could
Lots.
just
Yep. Have a lot of those 50s
Right.
in your billfold. Just, laying
Well,
them down.
There's another one coming up at the end of the month just for art. Thinking about all the volunteer type of things, and it's called Montana Art Interscholastic. And what this is going to be is they're going to be bringing in kids from all across the state,
okay.
and these kids are real diehards because they're actually going to sleep on the gym floor.
Wow.
But they're going to do like an overnight art experience at Great Falls
Oh,
High.
that sounds kind of
sounds
fun.
intriguing.
And it's all like teacher volunteer run, and we find people to kind of help out. And so there's courses that kids can take. They got this whole menu of, I can take this course at this time and this course at this time, and they offer them multiple times so kids have a chance
Cool.
to fill in. And
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Should do an adult version of that.
yeah,
I'd
it would be kind of fun.
like, it
Kind
sounds
of that idea of a
intriguing. Yeah.
lock-in
Yeah,
It's basically a lock-in.
Yeah.
with constructive things to do.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Instead of burning things down.
Yep.
But yeah.
And back in the, I'm not sleeping on the gym floor, but if there was like a cot or a couch
Yeah.
somewhere,
There you go.
I could handle that as an adult. But I've passed
Not
the
a-
age
Yeah.
where I can sleep
Want
on
to
the
sleep on the gym floor? Yeah.
I think we have some outdoor outfitter shops here that can help you with
Yeah.
a nice mattress.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
So, random question. The Ursuline Center has kind of a really cool, I'm going to call it a theater.
Yeah.
Have you ever performed in that?
Have I performed in it? I've been in it many times. I don't think I've performed in it though. Yeah. It's an interesting little acoustical spot.
I'm telling you, the secret's hidden in the Ursuline Center. I just want to spend time in there. Like,
Yeah.
I might even get married again if I was allowed to do it in their chapel.
You could renew your vows in there.
You
Yeah.
could. Yeah.
Might, I said.
Yeah.
Might.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No guarantees.
But just these cool areas that I think back in the day were like the hub of a lot of things. And
Yeah.
I was just shocked when I saw the theater in there on one of our tours. I'm like,
Oh, there's a little
Yeah.
mini theater here.
look
yeah.
at this.
And acoustically, again, that's a nice place to perform for like chamber music. So I've heard, I've heard some of the groups in the symphony perform there. There've been some kind of solo concerts. There was a Celtic fiddler a couple years ago that came through. He
Ooh.
was just amazing,
Neat.
and that was a good spot to hear him in. And then they also have that little kind of library room that's just down the
Yeah.
hall. That's another nice little spot. And I've seen groups perform there too. Is you kind of sit around them and just
Oh.
in a chair, but
Yeah.
you got the library books behind you and the weird carpet.
Quite the aesthetic
much-
going.
Quite the
Yeah.
aesthetic.
Well, it
Yeah.
is like going back in time in
Yeah.
that building.
Yeah, that is a treasure, and we used to use it a long time ago. We had district festival at Paris Gibson Education Center, just,
Okay,
right
right.
next to it, and so we used that room as the piano solo
Oh,
room.
yeah.
But the festival just kind of outgrew what Paris was able to host, so we've kind of gone away
Space, yeah.
from using that.
That's what happens when it grows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When music
It's
is
a good thing.
such a big part of our lives.
There are some interesting little spots around town. Like, have you ever been in the Beckman Auditorium?
No.
No. So this is kind of interesting. And I think most of it is still there. So where Feather Your Nest is now, it used to be Beckman Furriers. And back in the days, they would do their fur shows. And so they had this auditorium on the back of the building. And they had a little stage and little, light system and stuff in
Cool.
there. And my first couple of years that I was here, when I moved to town, I think Beckman's was still in business, and they were renting out the apartment above. And one of the guys that was living there at the time, he was in the municipal band, and he was a trumpet player. So he invited my wife and I over for dinner with him and his wife one night. We had dinner, and it was kind of a cool little 30s apartment. It was very Art Deco-y in there, type of thing. And he's like, "Do you want to see my practice room?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
sure, And so he opens up this little door in the back of his apartment, and I'm like, holy. And it
How cool.
I was like, this is where they used to do the fur shows. And I
my
just practiced
gosh.
my trumpet in here. And I was like,
Wow.
Yeah. You
So-
wouldn't have thought it was
No.
just a musician apartment, but
Right.
clearly.
But yeah,
clearly it
that's-
was. Yeah.
Perfect.
And like I said, I think it's still there. I know they've done a lot of renovating down at Feather Your Nest, but I think most of
I
it
hope
is-
that's still there.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think this should be a content assignment for you to go figure
go
it
find
out.
that.
Yeah.
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 Do we know who lives up there now?
Well, I
What?
don't think it matters. The building
They'd be
is
like,
owned by.
hello?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think the
true.
owner
Yeah.
is renting that out.
Yeah.
Either they're living there or it's family that's
Yeah.
living there now. But
Yeah, that'd be pretty neat.
Enough notice, we can get into anywhere.
This is true.
And the Masonic Lodge is another really interesting place.
It's an interesting
Yeah,
place.
it's got some really cool ballroom space.
And they've
theater
done
space.
like Chinook Winds and Cascade Quartet have performed in there, and I've never made it. What's even sadder is they've been at the Mighty Mo, and I've never made it there. It came with a beer. Like, I
Right,
would have
there's
thought,
beer there. Yeah.
You got issues there.
Yeah. Yeah. You know there's something going on if she doesn't make it to that.
yeah. But those are really cool spaces that move, I think, the arts around the community, which I think is fun.
Yeah, and then we got fantastic churches and things like that that get used quite a bit too. So, yeah, it's been kind of fun over the years exploring these places, and then every now and then you find another one. That type of thing. So, like, you guys didn't know about Beckman.
Yeah.
No.
I knew the name. I knew that where, like the general area where you were talking about, but had no idea that was back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the Pantages Theater that used to be where Alluvian's building, and then I was in the building where the distillery is going, Mountain Wave
That was an
Distillery.
old theater too. Yeah.
And he was showing us kind of the basement and the floor issue that he was dealing with, and I'm like, what is going on with this? And he goes, used to be a theater. And I'm like, oh, that makes a little more sense now. Because that's a weird thing to see when you aren't expecting that.
And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, that because we had to bring it out here, there were so many places in town.
Yeah.
There was the old Opera House, there were the theaters downtown, and like every block had a theater basically.
Yeah.
Because that's how important
Well,
music
and there's
was.
still on where Clover was and now Life in Bloom.
The Liberty
up above
Theater.
there, it still says Liberty Theater.
Yeah. And when you walk inside that building, which Davidson owns now, you can kind of see where it was. They've done a lot of renovation on the inside.
Yeah.
But it's still like, that was
A theater.
that was a theater back in the day. And and then obviously the Civic Center being built in 1939 or whatever, that was sort of the crown jewel of like, we're really going to go for it with an amazing acoustical place here. And acoustic wise, in my opinion, that hall at the Civic Center, the Mansfield Theater, is the best one from Minneapolis to Seattle.
And I've heard that
Wow.
Yeah.
from people who know more than me.
Yeah.
Like, I'll claim it.
Yeah.
I'll repeat
But
people.
others can back it up. Yeah.
But acoustically, it's pretty incredible what goes on there. It needs a lot of love because it's getting old, but the acoustics are in really fine shape. Yeah.
So, folks, when we say we are Montana's base camp for art and adventure, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, we aren't joking.
Yeah.
We're dead serious about our
authentic.
art.
Yep.
It's a big deal here. All art,
We
especially
live it.
this week
Yeah. Especially this week. Yeah.
and this month.
Yeah.
March. March is a big time for art.
It is.
Dusty, thanks for taking time out of your
Very busy
Life.
life.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
The check will be on the counter when
All
you
right.
leave. You've done
Did I-
such a well.
Did I make money? Or
Yeah, you
Oh,
did
okay.
such a great job.
I'm looking forward to spending my quarter.
How did you know? Yeah.
That's big money here. So thank you. Thanks for all you do for the arts in our community. We'll continue the dream of summer theater in
Yes.
Great Falls. Figure out if I can make that dream a reality. Haven't started my world tour yet with this podcast, but yet we keep continuing to funnel our dreams and hopes into things that maybe will come a reality. So thank you all for listening. We've certainly enjoyed pretending to talk to you like you're in the extra chair here in
There is an extra
our
chair.
office.
It's audience chair.
Yeah, that's who I talk to when I'm talking to you all. Nobody's there. But thank you for making us Montana's #1 podcast. I really don't know where we've ranked in a long time, but I'm just going to
At
keep
one
claiming.
point. Yeah.
We're still the #1 podcast in Montana. And until we see your bright, smiling, happy, healthy, beautiful face here in Great Falls, Montana, we hope you are creating amazing memories with your friends and family wherever you are. See you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town. Damn, that felt good.